what if I look at this differently? What if I look at what have I done in my life during my most difficult times? And this might be useful for you too, to kind of look at your own life and say, when I was in the toughest times and I was able to pull myself through, how did I do it? What were some of the elements that made the biggest difference in your life when you did those turnarounds, when you made it through whatever was your toughest times? The first thing I believe you got to do to turn yourself around is really take control of your mind, or specifically, you got to feed and strengthen the mind. The mind is an interesting place, isn't it? I mean, fear can take us over. Uncertainty kind of unleashes all these thoughts that make us start to believe very often that things will always be bad, that we'll never be able to turn it around, or that we don't have the capability. It's just the nature of those inner voices that everybody feels at times. Now, maybe you're not feeling it right now, but I'm sure there are times that you have. So to take control of your focus, what do? Well, I was told all of a sudden I had a tumor, or way back when I'm on my own trying to figure out what to do, I realized that somehow to take control of my mind, I had to feed it. That if I didn't feed my mind, I'd be living on the weeds that came around me. I mean, today, if all you do is, pick up your phone, you've got all kinds of messages that are going to get your full attention, or flip on Google and check out the news, or watch CNN, or whatever it is you do, it's constantly coming at us. One of my first teachers, Jim Rohn, taught me something years ago. He said, Tony, every day you got to stand guard at the door of your mind. He said, I'll give you a good lesson. He said, think about this. What if your worst enemy in the whole world came and dropped some sugar in your coffee? He said, what would happen to you? I was just a 17-year-old kid just getting started. And I said, what do you mean? I'd have sweet sugar. He said, that's right. He said, what if your best friend, with the best intention in the world, dropped one drop of strychnine in your coffee? I said, I'd be dead. He goes, that's right. So remember, life is both sugar and strychnine, and you better stand guard at your coffee. Stand guard at the door of your mind, because things feed in there and you start to accept them. They start to become beliefs. You start to make up meanings that take over your life. My fastest way of combating that when I was first brand new, just trying to figure out what to do with my life, was to read. And I was poor. I was literally sleeping in my car, so I'm ancient enough to remember when there wasn't an internet, and when I would go to the library. And I would go to that library, and my whole goal was feed the mind. Feed the mind for at least an hour minimum a day, and sometimes more than that, where I would read somebody's biography. I'd read the story of somebody who went through some unbelievably difficult time and how they turned it around. And it gave me perspective. Or I'd read a book like As a Man Thinketh. If you haven't read it, it's worth reading again and again. You can read the book in about 20 minutes. Or I'd read Man's Search for Meaning, where all of a sudden Viktor Frankl, a man who was literally living at that time in Auschwitz, losing all of his family, and he figured out how to make it through that time and add value. These stories, these things fed my mind something nutritious, something strong. If we are what we eat, we are what we read, we are what we listen to. Later on, I began to feed my mind, about understanding the ideas around health principles and how people had turned themselves around who had tumors, who had cancer. I did the same thing most of my life, starting when I was 17, by listening to audio tapes. I went out, I was constantly feeding my mind. I didn't let or hope that a good idea would interrupt me or interject itself upon me. I knew a great idea had to be pursued. I had to go after it. I had to feed and strengthen my mind every single day. So I did it with audio tapes, I did it with books, and I did it by literally doing incantations, saying to myself something over and over again with such intensity till my mind began to believe it. So reading, listening, feeding your mind is the first step to get out of that place of uncertainty and to start to re-tap into your real ability to thrive in any environment.
It's hard changing your life. It was hard when just over 3 years ago in the Penobscot building in Detroit, Michigan, where I was operating my business, and I fell on some hard times, and I was sleeping in my office. It was hard coming into the lobby, and the security said, "Excuse me, Mr. Brown, can we see you for a moment?" And I said, "Yes." And I walked up to the counter, and he gave me an envelope. And he said, "Would you mind reading it here?" And I opened the envelope, and the envelope was from management that said, "This is an office tower. It's not a hotel. Please do not sleep in your office." And I said, "Excuse me, sir." I said, "I just work long hours in creating my business. I'm an entrepreneur. And right now things are bad for me, but they're not going to be this way always. And I just asked for the opportunity to continue to operate like I'm doing. I'm not trying to make this my home. And it was hard coming through the lobby. And sometimes they would laugh. There's a guy talking about becoming successful. And look at him. He's bathing in the bathroom upstairs on the 21st floor. He sleeps on the floor. Him and 2 other dreamers up there. Look at him. It was hard, ladies and gentlemen, coming to speak to people. And I was facing financial difficulties in my own life. I was behind on my bills and my dreams, and I'm saying to them, you can live your dream. It was hard, ladies and gentlemen. It was very difficult to pick myself up each day believing that I could do it. There were times that I doubted myself. I said, God, why is this happening to me? I'm just trying to take care of my children and my mother. I'm not trying to steal or rob from anybody. Why did this have to happen to me? It was very hard. And here's what I want to say to you. For those of you that have experienced some hardships, don't give up on your dream. No one could have convinced me by holding on, by continuing to push forward, by continuing to run toward my dream, that one day I would have my own talk show. It's a long shot, ladies and gentlemen, from Liberty City, an abandoned building on a floor, never knowing my mother or father. It's a long shot. Being here with you today in this dome in Atlanta, it's a long shot. No college training, labeled educable, mentally retarded, but I kept running toward my dream. Don't stop. Don't stop. Stop running toward your dream. Here's what I discovered that happens to you in life, that you will go through things, and while you're going through them, you can't understand why it's happening to you. But after you go through it, you get back and you look at it and you say, oh, now I understand why I needed that lesson. Have you ever happened to you? Raise your hand. Has it ever happened to you that I couldn't understand it then, but after I got through it, then I saw that that was preparing me for bigger and better things. That as you go through the challenges of life and you look at it and embrace whatever comes to you, don't run from it. Step toward it. Don't try and duck it like most people do. See, most people want it easy. See, easy come, easy what? Easy go. See, but when you go at what you're going to deal with and you deal with the difficulties of it, when you handle those hard things close at hand, making those hard decisions right now that you don't want to make, learning those things that you don't like to do, but you know that in order for you to get where you want to go, this is one of the hoops that you have to flip through. And I'm saying to you, whatever you got to do it, because if you don't, life is going to whoop you until you surrender and say, okay, all right, I cooperate, okay, I learned, okay. They had to wear me out a long time. So if it's hard, then do it hard.
When times are difficult, try to find every single day 3 things that you can do. I mean, just set 3 goals for the day. I know that sounds so simple, but as a blanket strategy, it works. You know, if you're down and out and you're depressed, I mean, just having 3 things to do during the day, giving yourself 3 simple things to move yourself through will help you. It will feel like it will bring a little progress or a little accomplishment or a little connection with yourself into the day. It could be as simple as like if you're really down out, if you're really struggling with difficult times, sometimes that goal can be get up, take a shower. You know, it can be, hey, today I'm going to walk down to the coffee shop with a good positive book and I'm just going to sit down and just read for an hour drinking a coffee. You know, it can be as simple as call somebody, call a friend or family member. It can be so simple, but having 3 of them helps you progress throughout the day. It doesn't have to be complex, but it keeps you moving through the difficult times, remembering the old adage that this too shall pass. But if you're just sitting around waiting in your own dark... darkness and your own just sadness or depression or frustration, waiting for it to pass and not having any, what we call in psychology, personal agency in your life. You're not taking any action to move that ball forward, then it can get really frustrating. So just set 3 small goals for yourself during the dark times every day. Just knock them off. Just 3 little goals. No matter what they are, just move towards them. Get those done, and you'll start to feel a little bit better over a period of time. I would say the next thing to do is just keep perspective. And that's the hardest thing to tell somebody when they're going through a hard time, because, you know, it's so easy to say, well, you don't understand me, or this is so hard, or this is the worst time in my life. And some of that might feel true. And it might be true. It might be one of the most difficult, trying times of your life. And all we can say is keep perspective. We can't say keep perspective other than just say, you know, there have been good times. Remember them. Don't cut loose of those good times in your memories just because now your focus is on the dark times. Remember those times that were better. Remember those times in which you did connect with others, that you did create, that you did take action. And remember also your strength. Because it's so easy when the times are dark to just focus on all the things that you're doing to screw it up, or all the things that people are doing to mess with your life, and you forget the incredible power that you have. I mean, it is an amazing miracle. If you're looking for the miracle, you already got it. That miracle that you've been given the power of choice and will to direct your own attention each day, to direct your own attitude each day, to direct your own actions each day, to direct your own affections and emotions out into the world, that you control those things, that you can move those things, that you can shape those things. That's the miracle. You are the miracle. You've been waiting for something to show up and change, and I just say, you've already been given the gift. Now you have to activate it. So when it's difficult, keep perspective on the fact that there have been good times. There will be more good times. That even if you are struggling personally, you still have that great freedom that has been given to us, and that choice, that gift of free will to start directing yourself. So start remembering your strengths and start directing yourself again, because
there are a lot of people who are biting their fingers in fear that they might lose their jobs. But there are few people who have decided within themselves, I'm going to make it. Some people aren't waiting to be cut. Some people are moving on their own because they feel within themselves, I've got what it takes to make it. About tomorrow because of how they see themselves, because of what they feel that they deserve, because of what they feel that they can create for themselves, because these people have decided, as they look at the future, as they look at themselves, there's a way. Where there's a will, there's a way for me to begin to create a way out of no way. And when you have that kind of consciousness, when you have that kind of spirit, nothing can stop you. Nothing. What would your life be like as you look toward the future if you decided, I'm not going to allow my fears to stop me? What would your life be like? What would your future be like if you decided to want that which you desire so strongly that it prepares you past your fears, that you experience the fear, as the one book says, feel the fear and do it anyway? What would your life be like? And I'm saying to you that all of us who have been entombed by fear have the capacity to resurrect ourselves and to resurrect our dreams. All of us have the capacity to do that.